What's going on, Bulls Nation? Welcome into the CHGO Bulls Podcast, coming to you live from our studios here in West Loop, downtown Chicago. I'm Peck, Bulls_Peck. Big day, bow, BAWL Sports. Will the GOAT Gottlieb, Will_Gottlieb. Our pal producer on the controls is Joey Spathis at Joey Spathis. Happy Monday, everybody. NBA playoffs roll on. We'll touch on the latest results and also what we have on deck tonight at the back end of the show. First, going to dive in a bit deeper into a great column the GOAT just published this morning about whether or not AK can maybe use a lesson or two from what we just all saw Ryan Poles do with this Bears rebuild that culminated in the electric 2024 NFL draft.
Bears good.
Bears good.
Bears
good. Are we all good? How's everybody doing?
Go to
Doing
proved.
great. Go to proved.
Go to proved.
That says everything.
Before we dive into the AK Poles comp convo, I did want to briefly touch on just some of the incredible work that Joey did with all the graphics for our CHGO Bears apartment
Appreciate
last week.
Thank you.
I made a little joke about one in particular that he made, which was Caleb Williams and Rome Odunze recreating the Wade flexing in the foreground, LeBron not having yet completed the alley-oop in the background picture.
So dope.
It's an iconic picture in the world of sport. I, as a Heatles forever hater, did not care for it.
Not for the plan.
But it was a dope Photoshop. It was great. And Joe, I believe I saw that you-know-who himself actually liked that photo on Twitter.
He liked it after somebody else posted
Flex.
it as if they had made it.
Wait, someone else took credit for it?
No, they eventually didn't take credit, but they didn't they posted it and tagged him, and everyone was like, "Whoa, how'd you make this?"
But they didn't tag you.
No, and then a bunch of people were like, "Hey, you didn't make this," so it was fine. I'm just happy Caleb saw it, liked it. And,
Caleb saw it.
Caleb saw
that was
it.
cool.
Oh, okay.
That was
I didn't
cool.
know who you meant when
My
you said
quarterback.
you know who. I for real thought Dwayne Wade when you said
No,
that.
no, not
I'm
Dwayne
serious. That's
But I
my
would
head.
rather have Caleb see it than Dwayne Wade.
Well,
So
sure,
that was
but
correct.
it was Dwayne Wade who really did it. But yeah, Caleb was dope. That's amazing.
It was dope. I mean, if you have it easily accessible
It was a
somewhere, Joe, and
sick-
want to pull
it
it
was
up
a sick
and
graphic.
put it on
No, it
YouTube
was
so
a
people
really
can
cool
see it.
graphic.
It is really dope. I just I have to forever and always hate everything associated with the Heatles.
I actually-
hated that team so much.
I had something. I didn't tweet it out, but I did say something. It was really nice that I was going to put up about Joey, but then something happened and I didn't put it up. Just about that picture, though. It was really incredible, dog. I thought it was really dope.
Hey, thank you, Dave.
So you thought about
He
saying
almost
something
had a
nice
compliment
about
for you.
Joey.
Yeah. Oh, I know what happened. It was something going up, and then I saw Matt talking shit, and then I was like, "No, let me counter this instead because this is ridiculous what he's doing." Like what are you talking about?
So
That's
on brand.
exactly what happened.
So
That's
on
exactly
brand.
what happened.
Everything
dog.
about it.
It was something really nice. I was putting up for you, dog. I was like, "Oh
Yeah.
man, dude, this is really incredible." That
It
you
was
did this.
honestly just something that I was surprised by how much traction it got. It was really just something I was fucking around with, and in hindsight, if I had known that people would have been that drawn to it, I probably would have spent a little more time on it. But people seem to be happy with it.
Yeah,
so
you didn't
it's
need
cool.
to.
Throw it up for the people that may not have
No,
seen
it can't be done. But go, you can check it out on Twitter.
You can't feel. Oh man, it can't be done. Okay, I do have an announcement.
You got-
when we were at the Bears.
You
draft.
got a third new air conditioning unit?
Oh no, baby. Why you listen? Rest in peace. Much love to my AC. I don't know why Matt wants to bring up sad memories for me, but rest
Happy
in peace.
memory.
Man. You know what I mean?
New one.
We loving number 2, doing their thing, blowing all this coolness on me. Thank you, Joey. Just a quick moment. I appreciate that. When we were at the night 2 of the draft party, I met the legend, and I don't mean Gary Fensick.
He was there too.
He was there too, and I met him as well. He gave me a pound, which was crazy. That Gary Fensick gave me a pound, but I met the legend, Ray Chevy.
What?
The Ray Chevy.
The Ray of Ray Chevrolet?
Chevrolet,
Ray
Ray.
Chevrolet. I hung out with him. We talked for about 45 minutes. All Bulls basketball. He is a huge, knowledgeable, smart basketball fan. Young guy too.
Yeah.
Just really incredibly smart. Knows his Bulls, knows his basketball. Wants to come on the show.
Dude.
I told him you're more than welcome to come on the
Anytime.
Anytime.
show. Yeah, he really likes what we do.
See,
And
what
so,
you're-
like,
Five shows a week all summer long. We got
Yeah.
episodes to fill.
yeah, I told him come on.
What
I told him
you're
come on through.
insinuating is you do have a free car from Ray Chevy.
I told him that too. I did tell him that. I did tell him no comment, and he said, "Hey, things can happen." I was like, "So I'm talking about Ray. So I'm talking about it's my man right there." Actually, we were texting earlier. He really likes your article, Will. He was talking about you did a really great job.
Flex.
Huge
Yeah,
compliment.
Man. Yeah,
Friend
man.
flex.
It's my guy, man.
love that.
That's
Ray is
incredible.
cool.
Man.
Ray is cool.
You're
man.
always
That is-
welcome, Ray Chevrolet.
So
Come on
that's a
through, Ray.
legend.
Thought I was joking when I
I
was telling
saw Morehouse John, your brother, was dressed exquisitely.
you. As always.
Dude, that Bears
And yes.
color themed tie he was rocking. That dude, I mean, he always looks fresh.
And
as
that
hell.
was what I was going to say, is that it appears to be a theme. When I see him, he is always dressed like a gentleman.
That's how he is.
Yeah.
Unless we're going to the game.
Got it.
When we're going to the game, he dresses for the occasion.
But I've never seen him dressed like Joe. Sweatpants, t-shirt.
He's more jeans and a jacket and t-shirt. Like he'll wear those things. You know
Right.
what I mean? He has a ton of that stuff. But when he's out in public and he's doing his thing, bro, oh no, you know what I mean? He's official. Referee whistle. all of it.
Speaking of our fun CHGO Bears draft parties this past
Julian.
week, Justin in the comments said, shout out Dave and Matt. Me and my bro caught you guys on our way out from the Caleb Williams party. Family of
Yeah,
7
yeah.
kids,
I remember
avid
you,
Bulls
bro.
fans.
Yeah.
Y'all keep us saying, we remember you, Justin. It was a pleasure meeting you, man.
Yeah, we talked about you on the last show, man. That was the man who I told you put us in the group chat with
Yeah,
the family.
the family group chat.
Yeah, man. Shout out to you, Justin.
Watch
man.
these goons lose their minds talking about the Bulls for some reason.
We aim to entertain.
Yes, sir.
Indeed. Dontavius in the comments said, hell of an article, Will. It
you,
was.
sir.
I agree. Hype RNT saying, what can AK learn from Bulls? To not have his star player he just signed have a career-ending injury, to not lose his number one scorer for the season with knee issues, to not lose P. Will to an injury. Yep, lots to learn. Okay, funny, sarcastic answer. I do, however, think there are some things that AK can learn from Ryan Poles. And I'm glad that you wrote that article, Will, because I think we first have to acknowledge, as you did in your column, like the NBA and the NFL have differences in how they operate and how you can go about constructing
My
a good competitive roster. And, you know, obviously there are 2 rounds in the NBA draft compared to 7. That's one of many differences.
Draft lottery.
But basically, and if you want to just kind of kick off the conversation with a simple bullet point by bullet point thing of like, hey, Poles did this, AK could also do this when it comes to how he's approaching the next steps for the Bulls when he said, I'm going to make some changes, and how he should go about making those changes, Will.
Yeah, I think the first thing to understand and acknowledge is, one, what you said, that there's a lot of differences between the NFL and the NBA.
Sure.
In terms of, obviously, the sport itself, the way that the cap is set up. Like, I don't know the NFL that well in terms of all the, like, CBA and cap stuff, but there's a lot of differences. And so I think that's an important piece to acknowledge. The draft capital and the way that you're able to build your team through the draft, I think, is different. And then I think probably the most important thing to acknowledge is, like, what Ryan Poles just pulled off is like 99th percentile outcome positive. Like, it turned out as well as you could possibly have hoped. And a lot of that was like not in his control.
Sure.
Some of it luck.
A lot of it was luck. Like, you look at the Houston Texans scoring on a Hail Mary to end up giving the Bears the first pick last year.
Lovey.
The fact that there's no lottery in the NFL draft to where that actually resulted in the Bears getting that pick. He picked the right team to trade with. That right team picked the wrong quarterback.
Yes.
They picked Bryce Young instead of CJ Stroud. Maybe this is a different conversation. So a lot of it just has to go right. And then you look at the Falcons drafting a quarterback after signing a quarterback, which opened up the runway for the Bears to get Rome Odunze at 9. So
Ryan Pace special.
a lot of this had to go well for the Bears, but I think one of my big takeaways from just kind of like thinking big picture about some of these things is you have to put yourselves in position to get lucky. You have to create your own luck in that way. And I think that's something that Poles did really well. He continued to build his asset base. He made hard decisions with players. And that was kind of the other piece here, is like doing this kind of methodical approach. Why did my Siri just turn on? Okay. Doing this kind of methodical approach where you picture a bit, you isolate a big picture end goal of what you want, and then you figure out a plan of how to get there, and you stick to that plan regardless. So like, Justin Fields was really good last year at times, but Poles never said, well, I'm satisfied with really good. No, he was like, I want to be great. I want to get a great, like, potentially legendary quarterback. And so he made tough decisions that oriented himself that way. And I think being willing to take those decisions, being willing to move on from guys like Khalil Mack and Roquan Smith and Robert Quinn and Justin Fields, I think, like, ultimately you need to be willing to make those hard decisions, because there are going to be times where it has to get a little bit worse before it can start to get better. And I feel like Poles was always very communicative. He was very consistent in that messaging. And I think ultimately that's what kept the Bears fan base on board with it. And that's really what you're doing when you are undergoing a rebuild, is you have to sell that to the fan base.
Sure.
And I think what Chicago sports fans have proven is they're willing to stick with it. They're willing to go through tough years. They're willing to sit by and trust a GM or an executive vice president of basketball operations when they're willing to make those tough decisions because they see the bigger picture that executive has been able to clearly communicate. And so I just think like when you zoom out and look at all of the bigger picture things that Poles did, I think it was the right process through and through. And that is really the key. You need to have that process. You need to stick to it. And it's cliche at this point because of the whole Sam Hinkie trust the process thing, but that really needs to be the plan. And I think when it works out, and it's not always going to work out, like I said, you need to create your own luck. You need to get lucky in a lot of ways. But when it works out, it can work out like this. And the Bears are set up to be the best that they've been in any of our lifetimes.
Let me ask you a two-part question. One, you said absolutely you have to stick to your plan. You know what I mean, when you're doing those things. One, do you feel AK was sticking to his plan? And two, when is the point where you have to either pivot or abandon that plan?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. And when I say stick to the plan, what I mean by that is like, I guess the argument there is like the Justin Fields thing that I said. Don't just be like, okay, we've gotten good right now, let's stick with that. Like you have to be willing to continue down that path, that like go full bore into your plan. And I think what that required for the Bears was to be basically as bad as possible, to make tough decisions with players. But I think you also need to be willing to pivot off of plans when you see things not working. And like what I think AK has not done to this point is change his plan or adjust or pivot out of things or like even give himself off ramps on certain players. Like Poles basically, when he did this trade last year for the number 1 pick, not only did he give himself a year to evaluate Justin Fields with a premier wide receiver, he also gave himself an out for, okay, maybe Fields isn't that guy. We have an opportunity to then go get another quarterback at the top of next year's draft because we're going to trade with the right team.
Sure.
And we have an opportunity to reset the quarterback clock when we do that. And so I feel like when the way that AK originally constructed this roster, and I agreed with doing it the way that he did in a lot of ways, but what he did not do was take the outs available to him. He did not trade DeRozan when he was at the peak of his value. He did not trade Levine when he was at the peak of his value. He did not trade Caruso when he was at the peak of his value to be able to accumulate assets and start going another direction. I think basically what I wrote was that like, you know, AK is in a similar position with this current team that Poles was in when he took over.
Sure.
Right.
An aging roster of guys that...
Which, like, that was not the mess of Poles' making. It's what he inherited. And look, I think it's fair to also still say AK did not inherit a great starting point from Gar and Pax.
I think that is a little of an overrated statement, though, because...
You think so?
Look, he had all of his own draft picks. He had a crop of young players that were assets. Like, there are situations now where, you know, if you walk into a situation where you have no draft picks, like when Sean Marks took over the Nets, they had no picks. They had nothing. They had no young players, and he built that back up. Like, that was an incredible job, and he's obviously done some other things that, you know, haven't worked out as well.
But the mess that AK's in now is a bigger mess, which is of his own making.
100%. My point is that, like, if AK had continued on the path that the Bulls were already on and not sped that up or taken shortcuts to try to get himself out of the middle, I think the Bulls would be in a much better situation than they are now. They can get back into a situation like that. I actually think if they take the right steps this summer, they could be in pretty good shape. But, like, I think the initial starting point that AK walked into was, like, kind of a dream scenario for a lot of GMs. Like, he wasn't operating at a surplus of picks, but he didn't have any going out the door. He had a bunch of young players. He didn't have any bad contracts. Like, it wasn't that bad of a situation. And he obviously took the approach that he did and tried to get this team out of the middle or out of the bottom, and he got them into the middle. But, like, I don't know. What I didn't want to just, like, write this and criticize AK because I've done that plenty. What I wanted to focus on was what are some things that he can do in his next rebuild? I mean, like, what can he do moving forward that emulates some of what Poles did and the success that he had? And I think he can put himself in a similar situation because he's got some of those aging assets that hopefully he can move off for draft capital to kind of set himself up down the line. But I think that requires a lot of patience and a plan of that you're going to have to stay committed to, and you're going to have find times to pivot in and out of players into different or better situations. But I think like the ultimate goal has to kind of remain the same. And you can't get distracted by like, look, we had a 46-win season. We made it to the first round of the playoffs. Like, let's go continue on this path. Because there's also a bunch of red flags with that team. They overachieved. Lonzo got hurt. DeRozan had a career year at age 32. Like, a lot of that stuff was not going to be sustainable. And I think that taste of success kind of encouraged him to continue going down that path and to not pivot away from it when guys got hurt and injured, or when he had opportunities to flex out of it.
Yeah, and there, I see Steven in the comments saying when Debo was at his peak, we were a top 2 seed in the East for the first half, or even say 2/3 of a season. I think there were even still some signs if you looked at their record against specific opponents.
Correct.
Before all the injuries, with Lonzo being the first domino, started to happen and kind of handicapped this team. The signs were there that the Bulls were a mediocre team that was maybe bordering from mediocre to pretty good, but not great, because they were winning a lot of tight games against mediocre teams. They were beating bad teams, and they were losing to all of the actually really good teams, even when they were a top 2 seed in the East.
True. But I don't know if I'd use the word mediocre when you're a top two seed. It's hard for me to call you that. Yeah, if you're hovering like 4, 5, 6, yeah, sure, I can say that then. But obviously you did something right, which you're going to be at the top. But I agree with you. Yeah, like we all saw with our own eyes, like, oh, well, you guys can't beat these teams here. We know what you guys need to work on going into the offseason. So maybe his ideology was, well, I know the little retools I can put in that to help our team, get over this hump of beating these teams, because it was a first time being in that position for the Chicago Bulls. Maybe not DeMar DeRozan, but even for Vooch, it was a first time for them being in that position where they can be a elite or good team. Let's just say good team. Where they can be a good basketball team that everybody is watching and kind of looking at and trying to beat. So it was new. So I expected them not to be beating those teams like that. But going into next season, to not make those changes after you had those injuries and still think you just needed tiny retooling, that's where the mistakes started to compile.
But I think even like zooming out further, like we can argue about like how good that team actually was. They were playing an exciting brand of basketball that people were happy about. And like, I don't want to take that away from them. They did experience a portion of that season that was really successful. But I think it's, to your point, Dave, like the lack of flexibility and like continued like progress towards that ultimate goal. Like AK came in and said, I want to win a championship. And I think we can all agree that team was not going to win a championship.
We agree. Yeah.
And so what are you doing to continue building towards that? And that's where I feel like another way Poles has just continued to succeed is like he just kept on building and taking more action to get closer and closer to that goal. And like, that was the hard part, the rebuild, the tear down, the build back up. Like, that's the hard part. Now they get to do the fun part of actually playing football games and trying to win.
Right.
This is just the beginning, though. So it's not to say that, like, it's going to work, but I just think process-wise, they kind of hit all the checkpoints. They took all the right steps to get themselves in this position.
And some of those moves Poles made, we got to take our first break here, but they were not super popular among a lot of Bears fans when he made them, when it came to making those, as you described them, those difficult decisions to start clearing his books and making the way for a younger generation of a team to build around. They were not super popular decisions for a lot of Bears fans.
No,
and I'm Justin being the huge, glaring biggest one. There's still people marching through the streets of Chicago saying, get Justin back.
Even quickly, like when even the terminology where I came up with rims on a car, I started that because of Khalil Mack.
Yeah.
Because that's what I called him. I thought he was rims, and you shouldn't be on the team, and they should have traded him. And Ryan Poles did exactly that. Got those out of here. AK did not do the same. So.
Right. That's how you've also always described Caruso as well.
It's true.
Yeah.
True.
All right. Let's take our first break right there. We'll come back, dive back into this conversation. Plenty more to get to on this Bears rebuild. It looks like it's going pretty well, and whether or not AK can learn something or two from it. While we are sharing these words for our friends and sponsors, you know what to do if you're hanging out with us on YouTube. If you're catching the replay on YouTube, hit that like button if you haven't done it yet. We appreciate it. It helps us out a lot. And subscribe to the CHGO Sports YouTube channel if you aren't already. Big Dave, who's first?
My main man.
Your new best friend.
Oh, it's my guy. Shout out to my man, Ray Chevy, baby. And why don't you guys drive home a winner this April after visiting our partner and our friend, Ray Chevrolet. They're sharing their best offers of the year. Make your way to Ray Chevrolet on Route 12 in Fox Lake and join in on the savings. As one of the top-selling Chevy dealers in the Midwest, you'll be able to shop one of Chicagoland's largest inventories. Plus, you can find the perfect tailgate vehicle because you're going to need it because it's Caleb Williams time. For a limited time, they're offering 0% financing for 72 months on new Silverados with over 100 available. And to top that off, they're pricing over 125 under 20,000. Seriously, y'all, can pricing get more affordable, Matt? No, it cannot. And just because they let you like that, how about a free oil change at Ray Chevrolet in Fox Lake when you mention CHGO? A free oil change. You heard what I said. And free is awesome. Why, Joey?
Because it tastes better.
That's right. And all you need to do is to mention CHGO when scheduling your oil change. Start off the new year right and schedule it by April 30th, y'all. Schedule by April 30th. Visit Ray Chevrolet in Fox Lake or raychevrolet.com. They've been serving the community since 1963. Find new roads and let those roads lead you to Ray Chevrolet.
Ray Chevrolet. I'm so excited that he's your new friend.
It's my guy, man.
Ray Chevy, the one and only.
Him, man. It's my guy. He knows his stuff, bro. Oh, yeah? Hey, man, that's my guy.
Who doesn't?
It's my guy. I'm telling you, Via Ray. It's my man's right there.
Sales guy Jim. That's my guy right there.
Oh, yeah, that's my guy. It's wonderful.
Today's show also brought to you by our friends at Prize Picks. Playoffs are here, y'all. If you are not having fun and making yourself some extra money for your fun summer plans by just making winning picks on Prize Picks, you're missing out. Prize Picks, the largest daily fantasy sports platform in North America, the easiest and most exciting way to play DFS. It's just you against the numbers. You're not battling thousands of other players, including pros and sharks and the weirdos in their mom's basements. No, it's just you picking more than or less than on anywhere from 2 to 6 different player stat projections, and then you watch the winnings roll in. We've got a great slate of NBA playoff games tonight.
Yes, we do.
You want to make some picks, Joe? By the way, Joey is crushing these Prize Picks picks.
Oh, he's doing his thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's look at my last picks. Both times we're on this on the show live, so you know, plus big win there.
Look at that
for the national championship.
Look at that,
Ooh.
67.50. That's a nice
Before
cash
that,
right there.
Another one, March Madness. So we'll
A lot
go.
of green there, man.
I'm very interested here in this demon and goblins thing
What is this?
because they've got these demons here,
Okay.
and you could win more money, and then they have these goblins here, which are easier, so you win less money. And you know this is speaking to the troll in me.
Do they have trolls also listed?
I'm not
alongside the demons and goblins?
No, I'm not seeing anyone for the Lakers game, but I'm gonna take at least one goblin,
Okay.
and that's gonna be
Jaquez?
it's gonna be
Derek
what do you
White.
guys think? Derek White over 14.5 or Jaquez over 17.5?
You know what? Give me Derek White.
Yeah, I was thinking the
agree.
same.
I think Derek White
I was thinking the same.
can hit a couple threes.
Yeah,
That's really all it
the
takes.
Heat already had their game in this series where they just shot the lights out.
True. It's true.
I kind of like Tyler Hero above 20.5 points, though.
He has
I
been
would
playing
say.
well in this series.
He has.
And then let's do one more. Let's go. We'll go popular, and we can go.
Popular.
What do you guys think? Anything jumping out?
Who you think? Who you got?
I can't really see the screen, to be quite honest with you. It's too small.
Who you guys?
Get your eyes checked, Goat.
I know. I need to get new glasses. What'd you say, Dave?
New prescriptions. Who you feeling as far as the game?
Jaylen Brown's
Who
at
you think's gonna
21
have
and a
nice
half.
game tonight.
I mean, I feel like Shea in a closeout game could
Shea
be
in a closeout game.
Shea in a closeout game.
Ooh.
How about Jalen Williams?
J-Dub. big
Maybe.
fan.
What
You
do you
think,
guys?
think they're getting that sweep?
I think they're getting
Yeah.
that sweep.
Yeah. They're done. Pelicans said we quit. like
All
we're
right,
done.
let's put something in here. I'm gonna put. I don't see any Shea here, so I'm gonna
Okay.
just go. I'm gonna go with a goblin. You got a troll in there. We'll throw in a
Goblin. Take a
Chet.
goblin.
Chet.
Who
Points.
does kind of
Chet
have some
with-
goblinish
Let's do it.
features.
There we go.
Feeling Chet.
That's the pick.
All
I
right.
like it. I like it.
There it is, y'all.
You're taking more than on Chet, 10.5 points. Yeah, I dig that.
Oh yeah, that's easy.
That's easy. Oh,
Easy money.
Go say it's easy money, baby.
Y'all could go through this same fun and easy process yourselves by signing up for a Prize Picks account.
Yeah.
And here's how you do that. Go to prizepicks.com/CHGO. Use that code CHGO for a first-time deposit match up to $100. That's free money. That's prizepicks.com/CHGO. Use promo code CHGO. Pick more, pick less, It's that easy. Even Troll Joe can do it.
He just called Troll Joe slow.
I mean, he's a troll. It's not. It's not Joe. It's not Troll Joe specifically. I think when you're talking about a species, trolls are not known to be super intelligent.
Oh,
they can be devilish in a way.
I think,
but
they're sly,
fiendish.
Yes,
they're sly. What do you mean they gotta stump them with a riddle or something to get out of a bridge?
It's true, to get over the bridge.
I've always thought that the trolls have been fed riddles by someone else, and that they can just recite them.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I need to meet the person behind the troll. Okay,
yeah,
all right.
Exactly.
Like Gargamel or something. Okay, I understand. I got you.
Okay, so diving back into this conversation, Steven saying, all I'm saying, don't dismantle the team after the first year. Second year, sure. Well, this has been now three years. Julia saying, with AK at the helm of decision-making, will Bulls fans ever be excited again? I mean, maybe. That's why we're talking about it. That's why we'll always be here talking about it, because it can be done, and it does require a combination of executives doing the job well and a little bit of luck.
Yeah.
Bulls have not had a lot of luck, whether it's keeping the guys that they've put together on this roster healthy, or didn't jump up in the lottery after missing the postseason last season. Did not get lucky when they were purposefully trying to be bad after trading Jimmy and rebuilding that way.
Didn't work out.
The number 7 picks that were cursing this franchise. There is some luck involved, but also the skill involved. But then I think the biggest problem for AK and the biggest frustration for Bulls fans watching AK and how he's operated for the last 3 years is that he, unlike Poles, has not been willing to face some of those hard decisions and make them. Because I think Poles came into that job with the Bears and said, this team with these aging vets that are expensive aging vets, and they're good, maybe still in their prime, but at the back end of their prime, are creating this problem that won't allow us to improve the roster in other ways. We're hamstrung by this expensive aging talent. And AK has refused to admit that he has put himself into a similar corner with this Bulls roster and aging vets like Vooch, DeMar, and to a lesser extent, but even still, Zach LaVine.
I think it actually goes further than that. You look at the aging vets. The reason he wants to keep them is because those are the best players on the team. The real problem is that he's not willing to be bad because he just isn't. I guess we don't really have a good explanation for that. I think the bigger thing is you have to be willing to take a few lumps and go that direction. And I get it. He came into this job to get the Bulls out of that bottom area, but it didn't work. So you can't just try to hang on to the middle now. I feel like AK kind of said we just want to be competitive, and then he kind of came back and corrected himself after the season. But there's no way guys get into his level as an executive and don't want to win championships.
Sure.
And I think one thing that Poles kind of had going for him is that he came into a situation and his day one was going to rebuild, right? Now, if you're AK and you just finished your four-year contract and you have a 2-year extension, do you want to start a rebuild now? Understanding that you may not be around to get into the end of it. I almost feel like it would be.
But I mean, you've said yourself, Will, the other side of that coin, the theory that when you do and do so with the blessings of ownership, aka your bosses, start a rebuild, it buys you a little time because they are patiently waiting to see what happens with that rebuild.
But does it buy you time? Is 2 years enough to buy you that extra time? I almost feel like in order to undertake a rebuild, you have to have job security and you have to be under contract for more than 2 years. And so part of me feels like either somebody else should come in and just take it away, or AK needs to have more runway on his contract to be able to make those hard decisions that may not end up manifesting until 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 years down the line. And I don't know how executive contracts typically work in terms of length, but it's always been with the Bulls, Jerry Krause had a job for 18 years, and Gar and Pax had 17. They've had runway, but having that job security of the contract actually extending to that point, I think would help give him a little bit more security and comfortability with making some of those hard decisions, because that's really what it comes down to. You have to be willing to be bad. You have to be willing to go that direction, because that's ultimately how you get over that hump. And by spending the first 4 years, he basically spent like the first half of his first season evaluating things, seeing if they could take a jump. Then he traded for Vooch. Then you, in that summer, bring in Lonzo and Caruso and DeMar. Okay, now you're ready to cook, and you spend 2 years underachieving. Or 3 years, really. I mean, half of that first year worked really well, but now he's in a situation where he's basically got 2 years before his contract is over, and he has to do a whole rebuild. Like he needs more security if he's really going to undertake it. And I don't know if it should be him or somebody else, but like I do think that's a reality of the situation.
And he's coming in. He's actually the first one in a long time coming in as a quote unquote outsider,
right?
Because we're talking about Jerry Krause.
Krause was Reinsdorf's guy,
and so was Paxson.
And Paxson was Jerry's guy.
This is Mike Reinsdorf's guy. This is a different thing coming in from another team. These guys are already ingrained into the culture of what the Chicago Bulls are. So I don't know how long his leash will be, or if they're going to treat him the same kind of way and afford him that time that he would need. And plus, he didn't come in with the ideology of thinking I'm going to have to rebuild either. He came in to say, let me make these moves right here, get my coach I want.
That's probably why he got the job, because he was able to sell that to ownership.
Correct. I can get these players, we can get winning, and we can keep moving that way. It didn't work out for him. Now he has to rethink and retool. I think the biggest thing, Matt, and you said it without saying what I wanted you to say, the word for me is self-awareness. They are not.
What's that?
AK is not self-aware, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing in this situation, because he wants to believe in what he has.
Yeah.
He wants to say, dude, I got it right. Let me work it out and just move forward like that. Ryan Poles was different. Ryan Poles could afford to be a little more self-aware, especially with Justin Fields, who he didn't want to trade, because he knew he had something over here. He had a nice little golden ticket, right here. So you can afford to take a little more chances and be a little more self-aware about where you are with your team. Now, that's not to say he didn't make great decisions. You know what I'm saying? Like you mentioned, Robert Quinn thought was a great decision to get him out of here. I thought Khalil Mack was a great decision. Guys who were good but with just big contracts. You know what I mean? AK brought those guys in. Those other guys are already kind of here. You know what I mean? Outside of Robert Quinn. Those guys are already kind of here, you know what I mean, and established. So it takes away some of that sting that Ryan Poles had on that, or attachment, I should say. AK just did not want to give that up.
Right.
He was
He's the one who said, I'm going to go get Vooch.
Right.
And try to make this team competitive now.
Don't make any trades, Orlando. I want him. This is my guy. You know what I mean? Nope, we're going to re-sign him again because that's my guy. This is going to work. This is why Lonzo is still on the table. It's still an option for Lonzo on the table. He doesn't want to give that up. So his self-awareness has to be a little bit better for him to pivot and understand, dude. Well, I think he mentioned that he understands it now, but now we just kind of got to see it.
But I guess what I'm trying to say is that, like, because he's got a shorter leash in terms of the remaining years on his contract, like, maybe there's a chance he won't fully divest and go into that rebuild and sell off his guys. I mean, it would have been as if, like, instead of, the Bears trading back from the number 1 pick with Carolina, what if he just felt super committed to Fields, he was going to go that direction, and he said, you know what, maybe we'll move back to 2 or 3, let's draft Will Anderson, and maybe we get a wide receiver in a trade that way. Great, now you've got Justin, but you don't have that big golden lottery ticket of the next year.
Correct.
And now you're building towards the middle again. You're building towards, we've got a couple of good young players, but we don't have a true superstar. We've got a guy who we like, but they haven't necessarily proven that he can be beyond like a 7 or 10 win team.
Sure.
And so I do think it's just like, yes, Matt, maybe he buys himself a little bit of time if he does undergo a full rebuild and like can kind of kick the can down the road in that way. But I think there's also a world where he recognizes, look, I've only got 2 years to make something happen. Maybe, we let DeMar walk, or maybe we sign and trade him. Maybe we can move Zach, but like let's hang on to Io and Kobe. Probably not going to be able to move Vooch, and like let's try to be good with a different version of these same pieces. And I think if you do that, you're just going to run into ultimately where you are now. You're going to get back to the middle, and you're not going to be able to fully break through that like glass ceiling of being a mediocre team. You might get to the other side. Like right now, the Bulls are in like the lower middle class. They're on the lower side of mediocrity.
Sure.
Like maybe they get to the upper side of mediocrity, but you're not going to be able to break through that unless I think you fully go into this the right way.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, where my big concern is now is like, yes, I think he recognizes things need to change. He needs to make some hard decisions, but is he going to go fully into a rebuild the way that I think he probably needs to in order to ultimately come out the other side?
Justin in the comments, Dave, kind of pointing out an example of what you were saying with self-awareness and how AK doesn't seem to have it or hadn't for a while, and Poles did, saying Poles left Claypool in the dust. Like that was, and you mentioned that as one of a few missteps from Poles in your column, Will. Like at least he was able to acknowledge that was a risky choice that could have paid off. It didn't. Cut tie, move on.
Moved on, and also was able to withstand giving up a second-round pick for him because of all the other assets that he accumulated along the way.
Right.
And like I think it's a similar situation to Andre Drummond, or maybe Caruso is a better example. Like,
no, Drummond is better. I like Drummond.
Yeah. Okay.
I like that.
Like
one.
you got this guy who could be useful, but instead of maybe capitalizing on it for maybe less than what you would have wanted, but still better than nothing.
Yeah.
And now you're probably going to end up losing him for nothing, or re-signing him onto a deal that hamstrings your future flexibility, that keeps you old, that locks you into the style of play. Like I think having the wherewithal to be, okay, some move that I made did not work. Yeah, it's going to suck to have to only get a 6th-round pick for Justin Fields. Yeah, it sucks to only get a 7th-round pick for Chase Claypool after we gave up a 2nd for him. But, like, sometimes you got to do that, and you got to eat it just to move on and clear out that space and move forward.
That's it. You have to take the L.
Fish in the comments said, I swear we were going to rebuild when AK came in. He was vaulted as a patient guy who builds through the draft. And he got impatient fairly quickly. And maybe some of that was pressure on ownership, who had finally started to see the UC empty out and were like, yo, get good again. Or at least get decent enough again.
Yeah.
Rob saying in the comments, I'd trade Vooch, let DeMar walk. Zach, maybe you let him raise his trade value during the season and package him with Vooch. I mean, packaging Zach and Vooch together will be hard. If not gone, or even with AC to a contender. I mean, like, I think that is basically the blueprint that AK should be following right now.
Yeah.
And he should have done it a year ago.
Yes.
If not sooner.
Yes.
And maybe you can see Zach build back up his trade value. If he comes back from this, surgery that he had before the offseason even started.
Yeah.
And looks more like the 2-time All-Star version of himself than the can't get up and down the floor, can't score, and pouts version of himself that we saw this season that killed his trade value.
Yeah, and I think that luck part that Will is talking about comes into play like in these playoff games that we're seeing, because teams are recognizing on national TV what they kind of need. And a lot of them are needing another scorer, somebody who can actually put the ball in the bucket and create their own shot, but doesn't have to be their number 1 or even number 2 option. So that's where your luck kind of comes in, because if that happens, that becomes pressure from your fan base and from ownership to get better, because some of these teams might be cool without being good, but most of them, if they're in the playoffs, and especially in the West, if they're in the playoffs, we want to be good, all right, and we need to be good. So that's where that pressure comes in, and some people make iffy decisions when pressure hits them in the face, and so that's what you look forward to. That's your luck.
I still think that is the biggest crux of all of this when it comes to comparing Poles, the job he's done, and AK and the job that lies in front of him, is AK's unwillingness to go through a rebuild that is a rebuild where step 1 is selling your current assets and steering towards the bottom. He does not want to be a bad team. He wants to stay competitive. That is not in any way a path that would be following the Ryan Poles model.
And that is the recipe to staying in the middle.
Yeah.
If you don't, there's basically no precedent for teams to be consistently mediocre, consistently on the low end of mediocre, and then all of a sudden hit this switch without making any moves, and just become a great team. That it doesn't exist. Like even the teams that have built through the middle, they had to make massive, like, franchise-changing trades in order for that to happen. I mean, you look at maybe the Pacers are the best example. They never bottomed out, but they drafted 7th a couple of times, and you trade an all-star in Domantas Sabonis for an all-NBA guy, a guy who turned out to be an all-NBA guy, in Tyrese Halliburton, and now you're cooking. And I think the Raptors are in the same thing. They were kind of in the middle. They finally realized you can't just be in the middle and get better. You have to trade down. And they had the luxury of having their franchise player already, which makes things a little bit easier. But they had a couple of great trades, and now you look at that situation and you feel really good about the future. And I think ultimately you can continue to kick the can down the road, but the assets that you do have will bleed value. Maybe you can't re-sign Caruso. Maybe you do for $20 million a year, and then he loses his trade value. I think they have to start now with a rebuild. And I think they could be in good shape if they start now. But if they wait 2 years or they continue to be in the middle and then AK gets fired and now you start over with a new GM, it's just going to be tough to get yourselves out of this situation because you won't have a lot of good young players. Yeah. Your guys will be expired. Kobe and Io will be free agents and on less beneficial contracts. And now you don't have as many outs. You don't have those different off ramps that Bulls understood, had, and took.
We got to take our second break right there. We'll come back and dive into some of the latest, what happened in the NBA playoffs over the weekend and what we have on deck tonight. God, I love the NBA playoffs.
It's the best, man.
So
it's the best.
Much. What did we have on Saturday and Sunday, Dave?
Quadruple header.
God, they're so great.
My sister called me Saturday, said, "Hey, what are you doing?" She's like, "Are you in the cave?" "Yes, I'm in the cave. Leave me alone." She's like, "All right, I'll talk to you later."
I was talking to somebody later in the evening last night. It was like coming into halftime of T-Wolves Suns.
Yeah.
And they're like, "What you been doing all day?" I was like, "I've been sitting in this chair watching basketball."
Yeah.
They were like,
all day.
For 12 hours? I was like,
yes.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah. This is what we do in April.
It's the best.
In May.
Yes.
If you didn't hit that like button the first time around, do it this time when we are telling you about our friends at Coors Light. Between work and social media and the choices and situations that life throw our way, it's no wonder that we can get more worked up sometimes, more stressed out sometimes, more in need and ready for a chill moment sometimes. Coors Light celebrates rising above and choosing a chill mindset for your brain and your mind too. Why not turn a rain-out barbecue into a karaoke house party or another 7-game White Sox losing streak into just like a garage party, whatever you want.
They just swept on the weekend.
They did. Congratulations to them.
That's right.
Maybe after a tough Bulls loss, settle the score with an ice-cold peace offering. Make the choice to choose chill, then reach for Coors Light. It's mountain cold refreshment, and the best part is when you see those mountains turn blue, whether it be a Coors Light can or a Coors Light bottle or even one of the cool Coors Light cups that they have with us here at the studio, you know that beer inside is cold as the Rockies and ready to drink.
Yes.
Coors Light is cold lager, cold filtered, and cold packaged for a smoother finish. When you embrace a chill mindset, it's good to choose chill and crack open a Coors Light. Coors Light is mountain cold refreshment, crisp and refreshing as the Colorado Rockies. Got a little bit of snow earlier this week.
We did?
Yeah. No. Colorado did.
Oh, okay.
My buddy out in Denver let me know that they had a little fresh snowfall.
Oh, wow.
So I pair that with some ice cold Coors Light. You can also pair ice cold Coors Light with some warmer Chicago days on deck.
You can do that.
Let's get some of that.
Some tell me summer
Make the most of the times you choose to chill. Go to CoorsLight.com/CHGO basketball to get Coors Light delivered straight to your door with Instacart. That's CoorsLight.com/CHGO basketball. Celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado.
Now, Pick, what time is it? Get out! On his toes all the time, even in the Berks. You shouldn't have to worry when you're buying your tickets to your next big event. Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all your sports, music, comedy, and theater events nearest you with killer last-minute deals. All-in prices, views from your seat, and their best price guarantee. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying those tickets. Game Time has deals on tickets right up to the start of the event, and even an hour after it starts. It is not the place. No. It is the place to find last-minute seats, find exclusive flash deals and sponsored deals on tickets for football, hockey, basketball, baseball, concerts, comedy, theater, and so much more. And with on deals, you pick the section, and Game Time will do the selecting for an average savings of
18%.
Come on, go! And the Game Time guarantee means you'll always get the best price possible. So, take the guesswork out of buying those tickets with Game Time. Download that Game Time app, create an account, use that code CHGO. Get yourself $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. That's CHGO. Get yourself $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Download it now today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Trojo, What time is it?
You know it.
I like watching Joey rock out to the song. What he was doing something else at the same time. He was like, yeah, that's the cut.
All right, guys, let's talk playoffs.
Can we do a little small KC bomb?
Yeah,
small
sure.
Piece of news
We got
just dropped
something?
from Casey Johnson.
Hit it.
The Bulls and Chip Schaefer have parted ways, per sources. Schaefer, the head athletic trainer during the Dynasty days, returned to the organization as Director of Performance Health in 2016. Schaefer, who also worked for Phil Jackson with the Lakers, is widely respected around the league. Head athletic trainer Todd Campbell is serving as Interim Director of Performance Health, per sources. Departments are under evaluation by management. So another change to the staff.
Another change.
Not a huge deal, but
Not a huge,
But-
it is a deal.
For a fan base that has become furious
yeah.
with injuries, repetitive injuries that never seem to be like that never seem to just be on a timeline that makes sense when you're talking about recovery and rehab. Always setbacks. Seemingly those random injury updates from the team that come out of nowhere.
Yeah.
The Bulls fans have to deal with, and Bulls fans oftentimes saying, "Is it this team's, training staff? Is it their medical staff? What the hell?"
Yeah.
And look, so I saw somebody in the comments earlier mentioning how like the NBA was just rife with injuries all season long. All like so many teams,
Tons.
so many key
Dealing
players
with it now.
dealing with injuries. We're dealing with more in these playoff series in the first round. But that is interesting news that I think some Bulls fans would like to say, thank goodness. Not anything personally against Chip Schaefer, who's been in the organization a long time. Took a little time away and then came back. But like that's something that has been a trigger for Bulls fans for a long time.
Listen, I don't know how it works as far as being a trainer and things like that and what is put on you and what's not. All I know is under your umbrella, under your regime, the injuries just have been crazy, for this team. You can just start with and end with Lonzo. Like, that's it right there. But it's just happened under your team, as far as him, as far as Zach. Reevaluation and 2 to 4 weeks and 6 to 8 weeks.
Oh,
you know what I mean? Words that trigger Bulls fans now. You know what I mean? Or, let's see what happens, after this. We're going to look into it and come back. You know, Torrey Craig and his injuries, it's just been really weird. And, of course, it's not like he's on the floor, trying to, sabotage players. And, it just happened to him under his umbrella. But, yeah, if that's a change that needs to be made, then that's a change that needs to be made.
Yeah, I feel like guys get hurt. That's just the thing that happens in professional sports.
Yeah.
It happens in the NBA. Obviously, I think Bulls fans feel it more when it happens to Bulls players, but this is a kind of thing that happens with every team. And you're right, Dave. It's not like the trainers out there like moving guys around and preventing them from getting hurt. Like in the speed of a NBA game, that kind of thing can happen. So I've kind of been
ramp up. Yes, Fish, ramp up.
I've been saying like the Bulls should be investigating, examining, determining who is important to keep around. How can we upgrade? Like, if you want to be a championship level team and you have the 15th best trainer in the NBA, do you want to maybe look for an upgrade, or are you happy being where you are? If you have the 15th best head coach in the NBA, do you want to upgrade, or do you want to, feel comfortable where you are? Like, I think at a certain point, if you are committed to winning at a high level, you need to bring the talent across the board, from staff to analytics department to coaching staff, player development. All this stuff needs to get better. And I don't think it's just on the players. I think the roster does need to be overhauled, but why wouldn't you put yourself in the best situation possible with the most advanced, trainers and medical staff, with the most creative offensive gurus, with the, most renowned skill development specialists? Like, why not?
Yeah.
Why not do that?
Yeah.
So, I think it's a good thing. I don't think it's a huge deal in terms of like, this is not going to be somebody who's making major decisions about the roster or the direction of the franchise.
Right.
But why not try to upgrade in every area possible?
Yeah. Tried to upgrade your shooting. You went and got one of the best out there.
I'm guessing you don't feel as strongly about this news, Dave, as a certain Tanaka, Jeff, who left the Bulls a few years ago.
Oh, God. What a joyous day. When the weather is on.
What did that guy do? What did he do here?
eat hot dogs. And chill out.
Bob's from Office Space. What would you say you do here? Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Whoa. So a little mini Bulls staff bomb.
Yeah.
Which, after getting the mini Bulls staff bombs from last week.
Yeah.
With some changes in Billy Donovan's coaching staff. Bye, Lawrence.
So it should be interesting, man. Like to see I would love to see them do what Will just said.
Yeah.
Get on the cutting edge of certain things in every aspect as far as helping your players and helping your team come forward, whether it's front office on down to coaching.
Yeah.
Like you talked about the coaches that they replaced with, and you said there were one of those coaches you wouldn't be surprised becoming a head coach somewhere else.
Yeah, maybe.
Or even a head coach here. You know what I mean? That means you're on the cutting edge of something if you can say something like that, Will.
Yeah, and it's like you look at like the Spurs coaching tree. Like so many people who worked for Greg Popovich have gone on to become head coaches. Ime Udoka, Mike Budenholzer, Brett Brown for a period of time. That's just off the top of my head. The list goes on. Like, why not try to put yourself in a position to have the best in the NBA in every single category?
Yeah.
And if you don't have that, then you got to look to explore it.
Yeah. Makes sense to me.
Fish in the comments, I think, making a fair point that should be noted here, saying to his credit, AK did expand internally and create departments that should have been here for decades. He has done. That is true.
Fair.
And I will never forget one of the earlier interviews AK did when taking the job, and then he started making some hires, saying, as someone who's been around NBA basketball for a long time, I was shocked when I got here and saw how bare-boned the staff was.
Yeah. Like, it was crazy, dog.
But why, how does that happen? Why does that happen? It happens because...
Reinsdorf!
Well, maybe, but it also happens because the same people have been doing the same jobs with no interest in, like, getting better. I mean, they tried to do a rebuild, to their credit.
It's like one of those North Korean grocery stores that have just pictures of the food that are, like, made of cardboard and not actually any food inside.
Just been doing
that is the Chicago Bulls since Jordan left.
They've just been doing it the way that they've always done it, and that's how you get stuck. That's how you stay put.
Yeah.
And so you gotta find a new cardboard meal or something.
Speaking of teams in desperate situations, let's touch on the first round series to end, which was last night, and the Phoenix Suns getting swept by the 3rd seed Minnesota Timberwolves, the young upstart Timberwolves. Man. Okay, I think the first thing you need to say when it comes to evaluating that series, Anthony Edwards. He deserves top billing when it comes to breaking down that series. I mean, I know everyone wants to talk about, especially with the team getting ousted and the fallout from that, what the hell the Suns do next.
Sure.
Well, the Suns are in a position of what the hell do we do next, because their crazy high cap roll vet star-laden team just got swept out of the first round by Anthony freaking Edwards.
Yeah, and they don't have anything in the cupboards as far as a first-round pick for quite a few years.
Even more bare than AK's.
Yeah, seriously. No, seriously, man. It's going to be interesting to see what
their next first-round pick that they have the rights to is in like 2047.
Exactly. It's going to be interesting to see what they decide to do. I mean, Bradley Beal with the no-trade clause as well.
Whew.
Like, wow, yeah. And for them, they went all in. You know, they wanted to win right now, and they went all for it. We all saw the flaws that they had, but they just figured, that kind of offense could overcome their play. But they only played 41 games together. That big three. They didn't even start off the season playing together. So they felt like they could put it together. And I don't like that for when it's not teams that don't win. You understand what I'm saying when I say that? When it's players who don't know how to come in and win yet. Bradley Beal, as great as he is, doesn't know how to win. He's with the Wizards the whole time, bro. Like, whether it's his fault or not, he was on a team that was not about that life. Devin Booker, yes. You know what I mean? But he had Chris Paul running the show for him. Devin Booker had to run the show on several nights. Did it to the best of his ability. You know what I mean? But he's not a point guard. It's not what he does. Kevin Durant is Kevin Durant. Reports came out from Shams that he wasn't happy, with his role.
Those are crazy.
Saying it was just making him go to the baseline. I don't know how Kevin Durant can't just do what he wants to do.
I saw Kevin Durant standing in the corner a lot in that series.
That's crazy. You know what I mean? But they're in a really, really, really tough position. They don't like their coach. Frank Vogel they're not a fan of him. And they've got moves they've got to make, man. And I don't know how they totally make them, Will.
Well, and now people are talking about, does Kevin Durant get traded? Does Devin Booker get traded? Because, I mean, the Bulls, we've talked about how kind of stuck they are. This Suns team has very few outs. I mean, Nurkic is a tradable contract, but you're probably not going to get a lot for him. Durant, Booker, obviously you could get a pretty good haul for both of those guys, but do you really want to take that kind of a step back, or are you going to try to be contenders every single year the way that they kind of hoped they would when they put this team together? You can't trade Bradley Beal because even if he waives his no-trade clause, I mean, that contract is worse than Zach LaVine's. And he's older and he's performing at a lower level. So
50.
Let me ask you guys this.
Shout out to his agent.
I don't think this is the best deal they could get, but would you trade Zach LaVine?
Yes. Go ahead.
Ayo Dosunmu, Alex Caruso, 11th overall pick this year.
Ooh.
Amend the protection on the Spurs pick to give that to them next year.
Ooh.
And then 3 additional first-round picks. So 4 first-round picks to the Suns, Zach LaVine and Alex Caruso for Kevin Durant.
No.
Probably not.
I'd do it for Devin Booker.
Probably wouldn't.
I don't think they would do that.
I don't think they would do that for Dev.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
I don't think they're going to do that, but I think that's kind of the
Man.
that's
do
what
I want to
that's
give
what
up
the Suns
4
are,
first-round picks for, 34-year-old Kevin Durant?
35 or 36, I think.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what the Suns are going to be faced with. I think if the Bulls aren't willing to take on a rebuild, that's the kind of move that they're going to be looking at.
Look, and I saw many of people on Bulls Twitter last night as the Suns were getting swept out of that first round, posting pictures of KD in his Kukoc jersey.
Yeah, true.
I think you could sell the fan base on Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
But not necessarily if they knew that was the price
If that
tag.
was the price tag, then I would say no.
I mean, yeah, like how
Bulls
else are you
fans have
gonna
been
get 'em?
skewering AK for those 2 picks to Orlando.
Yeah.
And look, is
That's
Kevin
a lot,
Durant
man.
a more productive player to build your team around than
better
Vooch?
everything. Yeah,
Yes.
he's a better everything than anything.
But like,
that the
okay,
Bulls
how
have.
good is a
Man.
team? How good is a team with DeRozan, Kobe White, Durant, Vucevic?
And Patrick Williams?
Sure.
I'm laughing because it's Kevin Durant in this situation wanting to win, and then he
Well,
comes.
he's not a free agent. He's getting moved.
Yeah.
I understand, but still, like you'd have to figure he's upset with the current situation as much as come out from his camp. Well, can we interest you in some Chicago Bulls 40 and 40 action?
Yeah, I mean, I think that team would be really good. I don't
KD
think
in
they're
the
winning a
East.
championship, but that's like, I feel like if you are going to continue on the current path without making some real changes to go the other direction, like that's kind of the move that you're going to have to do. You're going to have to look at attaching picks to Zach LaVine and hoping that can find you an upgrade. And it's
too many picks for
Kevin
me.
Durant.
Yeah, it's too many. But it's just too many picks.
But like if you're Phoenix and the Bulls are giving you the 11th pick and then the 20-something pick in 2027, that's not good enough. Like they're going to want a chance at unprotected picks in 2031 when Kobe is no longer in contract, DeRozan and Durant are retired.
Yeah.
Like that's what that's the value add for them.
Speaking of expensive vet-laden teams who are in trouble in these first-round series, we just got something fresh from Shams just a couple seconds ago.
Okay.
There is doubt that Bucks All-Stars Giannis and Dame will be able to play in a potential elimination Game 5 against the Pacers on Tuesday, down 3-1.
Wow.
Both have tricky strains that complicate returns and create risk. Pacers took that 3-1 lead in Game 4. They did not have Dame in Game 4, in addition to not having Giannis because of that injury Dame sustained in Game 3.
Yeah.
Dame is out. Pacers hit 50% of their 40-plus three-point attempts, which is kind of what I saw this series going like, especially knowing that they weren't going to have Giannis at the onset and maybe at all this series. Did the Bucks get closed out in 5 games?
Yeah, I think so. When Dame went out in Game 3, as close because that game went back and forth that whole time. It was such a fun game. When he went out in Game 3, I was like, "Oh, the series is over." Like, there's really nothing else you can really do. Dame, because Dame was killing them. There is no defense for that dude, which is why I picked the Bucks. And he was showing improving for me for a long while until he got hurt. But once he got hurt and he went out. I mean, Chris Middleton, credit to him. He's Chris Middleton.
Oh my God.
You know, he
his
makes
performance
some
in that
shots.
game that went to OT.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Even in this last game, he and Lopez were the reason they were even in it for a little bit. But man, dude, like losing that 2 caliber dudes like that, 2 of them, like I don't see how you walk away unscathed out of that one, man. I think they closed that one out.
Let me just say this. There's going to be a lot of movement this summer.
Yeah, baby. Talk slow to me.
Everywhere
Goat.
except here.
Talk slow to me, Goat. Don't listen to Matt.
Giannis to the Bulls confirmed? Giannis to the Bulls confirmed, Will?
He said he wanted to come
There's
here.
going to be a lot of movement this summer.
Knicks also took a commanding 3-1 lead over the Sixers yesterday. Jalen Brunson, ho-hum, career high 47 for a playoff game.
Ho-hum.
My goodness. Sixers are toast. I think they're toast.
Yeah, man. Like
Credit to Embiid for, after dropping that very dramatic and maybe they got boned a little bit by the officiating game 2 loss, to say we're still going to come back and win this series.
Yeah.
That's a mentality you want your MVP player to have.
Sure.
But
Tough, man.
Knicks are better.
It's tough. Like, it's really tough, bro. Like,
Given the state of this current Sixers team and who's healthy and who's all the way healthy versus not, the Knicks are better.
the one thing I want going after this is Embiid being soft. That man's playing through a knee injury and Bell's palsy.
Yeah.
He's still out here dropping 40 on you. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I'm going to need that going after a while. So he's been awesome. Maxey, I think, has been playing great, like to the best of his ability. But the Knicks are a Tibbs team. And
Yeah.
Tibbs teams want shit more. You know what I mean? They scrap harder. You know, and they bite you, they fight, and they claw.
Ice.
It's how they play. It's how they'll always play.
We have enough.
Exactly. I was just about to say, man, it doesn't matter who's out there. You saw Hartenstein go out, you know what I mean, with 5 fouls?
Yeah.
And then they put in, I can't pronounce his name. You know what I'm talking about.
Precious.
Achua, thank you.
Oh.
They put Achua in, and Achua was going up against Embiid.
Yeah.
Now, credit that Embiid played an entire second half, so he was going to be a little tired. But Tibbs, I think, knew that and knew he can get away with certain things by putting just a guy with some length and some energy on Embiid and made life a little miserable for
He
him.
played Precious 20 minutes off the bench. He played McBride 27 minutes off the bench. Technically, Bogdanovich got in there for less than a minute.
Mm-hmm.
That was Tibbs' bench in Game 4.
I'm saying, right. Everybody was getting their time in there, man, but they're tough, man. They're tough.
And then other games
Knicks
from
can suck it.
yesterday. the series in the first round matchups that I wanted to go 7 the most, that I thought was most likely to go 7, and I picked Mavs in 7, is 2-2 through 4.
Yeah, I picked Clippers in 6.
After the Clippers nearly blew a game in which they led by 30 points.
Yeah, incredible comeback.
Mavs fought all the way back.
And I thought that comeback was going to happen when I saw they hit 14 threes in the first half. And I'm just like, that's not going to continue in the third quarter, bro. Like, it's going to come back down to the law of averages. And then it's going to come down to your best guys. Luka, he hasn't been the same since that knee problem. I believe he was 10 or 24 in that game, bro. He just hasn't been the same. Still a triple-double, still 20-something.
He's still out there doing Luka things, but he's just like hobbling.
Yeah, he's hobbling out there, man. He's struggling. Like,
and just like, I think on the defensive end, even more
turnstile.
so. Like, teams target Luka on defense when he's healthy.
Yeah.
This version of Luka?
Man. It was the turnstile. And plus, he had 5 fouls, too. So he really wasn't trying to do anything out there. But, again, Tyronn Lue, smart enough to find that switch, get Luka on him, let Harden get his running start at him. So he had Maxi Kleber in the lane. Floater game all day long, man. I really just tipped my cap to James Harden and what he did in that fourth quarter, because I saw a lot of people complaining about the adjustments, and you're right. That should have probably been made by Jason Kidd, putting in somebody with some length. But for me, at some point in time, Will, you just have to tip your cap to dudes who are just good.
Yeah, and, you know, I think you look at the team construction of some of these teams like the Suns or even like the Wolves, who obviously came out on top in that series. But, like, taking those big swings, those big risks, I think – we're kind of seeing teams swing and miss on a lot of those. And, you know, obviously Harden, not the same kind of big swing that it used to be, but that's a situation where you're betting on your talent to win out in the long run. And, you know, we'll see what happens in the series, but I feel like they're getting what they kind of signed up for.
Yes, correct.
Alex in the comments said, I think Indiana will destroy the Knicks in the conference semis. I mean, if that does happen matchup-wise, I can't wait, because I think that's two very different teams who play very different ball.
Yeah, man.
But they each do it well.
Yeah.
So that would be just a hell of a series. We're past time. We got to get out of here in a second. But real quick before we go, 3 more games tonight, 2 Game 4s and a Game 5. Do the Celtics go up 3-1 on the Heat tonight?
Yes.
Dave says yes. Will says yes. I also say yes. I'm tempted to be like, you know, I picked, you know, Celtics in 5.
Yeah.
The Heat already got their 1 win, but I'm like, is Spo crafty enough to get a split at home?
I just think that those dudes are going to hit their threes tonight in Boston. For Boston, excuse me.
Do the Thunder close out the Pelicans in sweeping fashion Game 4 tonight?
They close them out in Game 3. Like, this is over.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it's over.
It's done.
I think it's over.
Yeah.
I think it's over. SGA is freaking, that dude's the real deal.
He's special, man.
Nuggets, Lakers, Game 5. Do the Nuggets close out LeBron, AD, and the Lakers in Game 5?
I think so.
I say yes.
Yeah.
I'm surprised they even got one.
Seriously, man. The Nuggets have to be the most disrespected champion I've seen in a minute. Because every time I turn on the TV, they're like, oh, Lakers got one. They don't let them get down. They got a shot. I'm looking like.
I saw a lot of people on NBA Twitter last night firing off takes about this Minnesota Timberwolves team.
Yeah.
And their capability and readiness to take down Denver. And I'm like, look, that might happen. But
that's Denver,
and like,
bro.
look, do I think Denver is as deep as they were last year? No. I think they have bigger flaws, especially on their bench.
Sure.
And their Joker getting his rest minutes are awful.
Sure.
But still, let's pump the brakes.
It's going to be a great matchup.
Yeah.
Assuming that's what happens, because the Wolves have played the Nuggets really well, as well as you probably can. I think they're a team where like the matchup is just weird for the Nuggets because you're playing against two bigs and one of them can really shoot it. You have to guard him out there. You can't just have Aaron Gordon roaming around doing whatever he wants. So
But I would love to see the matchup who they put on Anthony Davis. Because I think they can, Anthony Edwards. Because I think they have several players they could put on him. Not saying they're going to stop him.
But you want to put Aaron Gordon on him, but you can't.
But you can. But I can put MPJ on him. And I can put Braun on him. And I can put Caldwell Pope on him.
Yeah, KCP is probably going to be the guy.
Yeah, man. But all them dudes might get cooked.
They will get cooked. They will get cooked.
But, yeah. You know what I mean? It can happen, man. But it's going to be fun to watch. I think you're right. I think Cat is probably going to be the guy for them this series.
He's the swing piece.
His post-game press conference alongside Ant last night was great.
Yeah,
when
man.
Ant was praising him for staying out of foul trouble while also giving him shit for getting in foul trouble in the earlier games of the series.
Stop fouling.
Stop effing fouling, man.
Like, dude, we saw him doing that to him. Like when we went to the game.
Yeah.
He was talking to Cat, dog. Like we saw the leadership in him already years ago.
Special, like obviously the basketball player is what it is, but he's special person, special leader.
We'll see if we have any other gone fishing moments tonight as the Pelicans and Lakers both face elimination in NBA playoff action tonight. Good news is if the Lakers lose, like LeBron said, it's just basketball. So,
no big deal.
Who cares? We are out of time for today. Thank you for tuning in, Bulls fans. Hit that like button on your way out if you haven't done it yet. We appreciate it. Make sure also if you are a podcast listener to rate and subscribe on your preferred podcast platform. We appreciate those as well. We're back tomorrow, same time, same place, 4 p.m. Central Time in studio. In the meantime, follow Will_Gottlieb and read his great column on Polls and AK if you haven't done it yet. ALLCITY.com. Big day, bow, BWL Sports. I'm Bulls_Pack. Our pound producer under controls is Joey Spathis at Joey Spathis. We are CHGO_Bulls. We will talk to you tomorrow. Enjoy the playoff action tonight. See Red be good. Send him home, Joker.
Peace.
Send him home.